It happened on a particularly bleak evening. Michael sat on a cold bench by the city park, staring at the imposing skyline above him. The buildings stood tall, unwavering, mocking him for the dreams they seemed to represent. Dreams he once chased before his life unraveled. His fingers were numb, his body drained, and his spirit broken. That's when she appeared. At first, he barely noticed her. A young woman, probably in her mid-20s, dropped a scarf as she passed by. She was dressed sharply, carrying a leather briefcase that screamed of success. Michael stared at her scarf lying in front of him, debating whether he should reach for it. But something inside him stirred, a faint, almost forgotten voice urging him to move. His trembling hand grabbed the scarf, and he called out, "Excuse me, miss, you dropped this." She turned back, surprised not just by the gesture, but by the man himself, sitting there, clearly weathered by life. Her name was Emily, and as she took her scarf with a grateful smile, she did something unexpected. She didn't just thank him, she sat down. It had been years since someone deliberately sat beside Michael. It unsettled him at first, but there was kindness in her eyes. She asked him his name, his story. He hesitated, embarrassed, but there was no pity in her gaze, only curiosity. Tentatively, he told her bits of his life, the accident, the guilt, the years of isolation. Emily listened as though her time was limitless, as though he mattered. When he finished, she placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've been carrying this alone for too long," she said. "But your story isn't over, Michael. It only ends if you stop believing in what could be next." Those words, simple as they were, sank deep into his heart. They awakened something buried, a flicker of hope. Then Emily handed him a business card. "Tomorrow, come to this address. We're running a small community center project, teaching job skills to those who need a second chance. Maybe you'd want to help draft some plans for the new space we're working on." His first instinct was to refuse. What did he know about drafting plans anymore? But Emily's unwavering belief in him made it impossible to say no. The next day, for the first time in years, Michael showed up somewhere with a purpose. The center was buzzing with energy, people from all walks of life rebuilding themselves brick by brick, dream by dream. Hesitant at first, Michael began sketching designs. At first, the lines on his paper felt shaky, uncertain, much like himself. But as days turned into weeks, he stepped deeper into the work, and deeper into himself. Emily was there every step of the way, encouraging him, challenging him. In time, Michael didn't just draft plans, he poured his heart into them. The center itself became a metaphor for his life, proof that something broken could be rebuilt, not into what it was before, but into something even more beautiful. Months passed, and the old Michael began to resurface, only stronger, wiser, and kinder. The community center opened to thunderous applause, and Michael's work was at its heart. As he stood before the crowd, his eyes filled with tears, a realization washed over him. This wasn't just a second chance at his career. This was a second chance at living, at connecting, at finding purpose. As the applause faded and Emily walked up to congratulate him, Michael turned to her and said, "You've changed my life. All because of one small act of kindness. I hope you know that." She smiled warmly and replied, "No, Michael, you changed your life. I just reminded you where to look." Michael's story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, a single act can light a spark that guides us back to ourselves. It teaches us to believe that no matter how broken we feel, we are never beyond repair. Remember, the smallest acts of kindness can ripple into miracles, not just for others, but for ourselves. So, what's one small thing you can do today? It might just change a life, starting with your own.